Hi, this is Roland Jean Charles from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. Today, what we're going to be talking about is, well, we have a simple question for you, as a matter of fact, is your rental property service animal friendly? And we want to talk to you about 4 critical tips to keep you out of the doghouse related to the fact that, if you're in property management or you're a landlord, and your property is not service animal friendly, you may end up in the doghouse with the ADA or any number of federal, city, and local organizations, governmental entities, and they may cause you more drama and more harm than what you want to deal with, right? And so, as a rental property owner, it is critical you understand the laws and guidelines for engaging the potential tenant with a service animal. Now, let me tell you a quick little story. I've been managing properties since probably 2007. And even back then, I didn't know the laws as well, but I did accept animals, right? And this was the time when I owned a small building and a couple of homes out in Tennessee, right? It was a quadplex, 4 unit building, and I allowed them to have pets. And I'm not sure if this pet for this particular owner was an emotional support animal, but I mean, they treated the pet just like a human, right? And at that point, I was just accepting pets, really didn't, look into the laws or anything like that. And it nothing too terrible happened. I mean, I mean, they did with when it came to the pet. I mean, the pet would poop everywhere. They wouldn't necessarily clean it up outside of the property on the lawn. And then, there were issues with the pet inside the house. The person wasn't too cleanly. And so, those are all the issues that you deal with individuals with pets. But now that I think about it, that pet could have been an emotional support animal, and I just didn't know it at that particular point in time. And we're going to talk through that a little bit. And even more recently, while I'm managing properties for other people, I have a tenant. I have tenants that have said that they have an emotional support animal or a service animal, right? And for me personally, I don't take on the liability of trying to figure out whether they're telling me the truth or a lie. I actually have a service that I use that all they do is screen pets. And I actually rely heavily on that service because they work with the federal government, they work with the local agencies, and they go through the process of screening out pets from service animals and emotional support animals, right? And if they give me the okay, the thumbs up, then I take them as a pet. If they tell me no, it's a service animal or an emotional support animal, then I don't charge the tenant any pet rent or any security deposit because you technically can't, right? And so, I mean, the reality is, you as a rental property owner, right? And even as a property manager who deals with volumes of properties, you're not always keen to, what's a pet or what is a service animal, right? And so what we're going to talk about today are 4 critical tips to keep you from getting in any hot water, like I said, so that you can move forward and continue to build your properties, portfolios, and not have that issue or drama to deal with, right? Now, the some questions I'm going to ask you here, right? Like, as a rental property owner, are you familiar with the regulations surrounding service animals? Probably not. Do you know what questions you can ask and can't? Most of us don't, and even me with quite a bit of experience, I don't know the questions you can and can't ask necessarily. So I don't ask any questions. I just rely on the company that I use to do the pet screening on my behalf. Are there different considerations for emotional support animals and service animals? Um, and so you may have a general knowledge or understanding, but at the end of the day, you may not know exactly what you can and can't do, right? And so that's what we're going to talk today, right? We're going to highlight some critical details every property owner should know. Now, when you break these things down, right? Service animal, emotional support animal, or pet. There are some key differences between the two, right? Emotional support animal and pets. And you may be open to accepting pets, and you should, particularly in Florida and the Tampa area, 70% of renters have pets, right? So it's good to offer that service, right? To allow the pets to stay in the home because you can definitely improve or increase your revenue by being able to charge pet fees, or charging pet fees or security deposit. However, if you are accepting pets and someone tells you that they have an emotional support animal or a service animal, you cannot charge those individuals a security deposit. You cannot charge those individuals a pet fee. Charging them a security deposit or pet fee can get you in hot water. In the eyes of the ADA, you cannot treat those animals as pets. You cannot treat them as an animal, right? So that's the first thing, right? Knowing how and when to differentiate emotional support animals, service animals, and pets is very important. It can keep you from getting in very hot water, right? And you cannot, by law, reject any animal that someone tells you is an emotional support animal, right? You can't treat them like a pet. You have to treat them like something other than a pet. Um, Second tip or point that I want to make, um, and and I think it ties into the first one, right? First is differentiating between the two, even if you have a pet screening process, right? The second, you must accept them, right? And I just said that, right? So you have to accept pets. You have to accept those animals that are identified as emotional support animals or pets, right? Even if you do not accept traditional pets, even if you say in your on your guidelines or your bylaws that you do not, even if your community does not accept pets, right? Even if your community does not accept pets, um, you still have to accept the emotional support animal and or service animal, right? So, and Florida law prohibits discrimination against any tenant who relies on a support animal as a companion, right? So, I mean, it really ties your hands, right? Like, you have some communities that don't accept pets. You have some homeowners that don't want to accept pets. But if they tell you that's an emotional support animal, and some people just say that they have emotional support animals, um, or a service animal just so they can get the pet in the house with them, right? But you can't do anything about that other than um, ask them two specific questions, and you can't ask them anything more than those two questions, right? So, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute, right? When we say what to ask and what not to ask, right? And so the guidance that you get from the ADA is you can only ask two questions. And the first question is the animal in question required because of a disability, right? The second question is, what specific work or task is the animal trained to perform? Those are the only two questions. You can't ask them what the disability is. You can't get into any of the medical details or anything like that. Those are the only two questions you can ask. And if you ask for anything more than that, you can get in trouble, right? Proof of any training is not required. And so you're very limited in terms of what you can do and what you can ask for, right? Which is why I use a service that does that on my behalf so that I don't have to worry about trying to figure that out. And the last one is, um, as a landlord, you are protected to a certain degree, right? So even if it is a emotional support animal, right, and it's not a pet, it's a service animal, any damage that that emotional support animal causes to the home is the responsibility of the tenant to cure, right? They can't just have this emotional support animal or service animal in your house destroying it, and then at the end of the day there's nothing that you can do about it, right? It's no different than if a human being was in the house destroying it or causing damage. They will still be responsible as well. So just like that, the emotional support animal or the um, the service animal the owner would be responsible for making sure that they fix or pay for any damages that is caused by that. emotional support animal or service animal. The only difference is you're not allowed to take a security deposit or pet fee from them. And so you don't have that additional security deposit that you would have if it was a pet. However, they are still responsible, right? So, at the end of the day, those are the 4 points I want to highlight, right? Make sure you understand the difference between service animal, emotional support animal, and pet, right? And you can go to the ada.gov website to get more insights on that, right? You must understand that you must, as a landlord, accept service animals and emotional support animals, even if you have governing documents in your community that says you don't, or even if you're an owner that refuses or doesn't want to. You have to accept them, because they're not treated as pets, right? So you must understand that, right? You must understand also you can't ask them about the disability. There's only 2 questions that you can ask, and I mentioned those questions earlier. And you must also, as a landlord, understand that your hands are not completely tied. You can charge the tenant for any damages that's caused by emotional support animal or service animals. Now, assistance animals are becoming more common as science demonstrates the many benefits of service and emotional support animals in a variety of health conditions. As a rental property owner, understanding the legal guidelines will be key to being assistant animal friendly. Contact us to learn more about how having a rental property management partner can also be beneficial to remaining compliant, right? I deal with this all the time. Not only that, like I said, I have a third party provider that I work with to ensure that I stay in compliant, and also we can help to make sure that owners that we work with stay in compliant as well. Because it's our priority to keep you informed on the latest rental property nuances in the Tampa metro area. You're invited to sign up for our free webinar. We will discuss how to streamline your rental property portfolio to maximize growth. It's a great conversation that you won't want to miss. You can join the conversation too with other like-minded property owners in our Facebook group. Get tips and connect with savvy rental property investors for more insights ongoing. And when you need specific advice tailored to your rental property investment strategy, add a meeting to my calendar, and let's get connected. All the links are here in this article. If you're listening, online or streaming service, I can be contacted at rcharles at pmijcmrealty.com. That's R Charles, common spelling, at pmijcmrealty.com. You can also reach me at 813-333-9617. Once again, that's 813-333-9617. And you can also go to my website. You can see my price list, and you can get information about the services that we're offering. Also read our content on there as well. And the website is www.pmijcmrealty.com. Thank you and have a great day.